Welcome back, everybody. Today we're doing a deep dive into Napoleon Hill's concept of positive mental attitude. PMA for short. We've got lectures and summaries of his work. Basically, we're going to try and figure out how PMA can help you unlock success. Like how come some people just seem to attract success no matter what happens? Well, Hill believed it all comes down to PMA.
It's really interesting how Hill basically saw PMA as like the foundation for achievement. But it's not just about thinking happy thoughts, There's a lot more to it. It kind of shapes how we see opportunities and how we handle setbacks, even how we interact with other people.
Okay, so it's more like a driving force, like a way of life. It's not just about slapping a smile on your face.
Exactly. Hill breaks it down into a few key principles. Optimism, having a constructive outlook, controlling your negative thoughts, attracting positive outcomes, resilience, and the belief that your mindset actually impacts the people around you.
So like it's an internal strength that you can develop. And then it can actually influence the people around you. Have you ever noticed how, like, when you're in a good mood, it rubs off on other people?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's definitely contagious. And Hill uses all these stories to illustrate that point. Like S.B. Fuller, he was a Black entrepreneur born into poverty, but he ended up becoming a millionaire.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of him. Wasn't he the one who said, "We are poor not because of God. We are poor because we have never developed a desire to become rich"?
Yep, that's the one. His mother actually instilled that belief in him. What's really striking is that Fuller's success was driven by unwavering self-belief and a burning desire to reach his goals. He really embodies those principles that Hill talks about.
Wow, so his mother, like, completely shifted his perspective on poverty. Like, it wasn't some outside force holding him back. It was their own lack of desire.
It's a powerful way to reframe it. Instead of blaming external circumstances, Fuller's mother empowered him to take control.
But what about when we face really, really tough challenges? Does Hill talk about that? Like, what about Tom Dempsey, the NFL kicker?
Yeah, definitely. Dempsey was born with a deformed foot and a partially developed right arm, but he still defied all the odds and set a record-breaking field goal. Hill would say this is a perfect example of finding the seed of an equivalent benefit in every adversity.
So he didn't just overcome a disability, he actually found strength and opportunity within it. That must have taken so much determination.
It really makes you think, like maybe his challenges actually fueled his ambition.
That's wild.
And that's the core of Hill's philosophy, A positive mental attitude isn't about ignoring your problems, it's about seeing them as stepping stones. Dempsey didn't let his circumstances define him. He used them to push himself forward.
So it's like the saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But what about when we let negativity take over? Like Hill called this NMA, negative mental attitude.
Exactly. He saw NMA as this force that repels good things.
Yeah.
And holds it back. He gives this example of a woodcutter. So this guy's chopping wood, right? And he's completely consumed by negativity. He ends up missing out on a hidden treasure inside one of the logs he's splitting.
Oh, man.
It's like a metaphor for how our mindset can totally blind us to opportunities.
Yeah, like imagine missing a job opportunity just because of self-doubt.
Ouch.
I'm sure that's happened to a lot of us.
Yeah, probably.
So NMA can hold us back. How do we shift gears and cultivate that powerful PMA?
Well, Hill gives us some actionable steps. He talks about what he calls conscious autosuggestion, which is basically using affirmations and positive self-talk to reprogram our minds. It's like your mind is a garden, right? And every thought you have is a seed. So conscious autosuggestion is about intentionally planting positive seeds to grow a mindset of success.
I love that analogy. So instead of letting all those weeds of negativity grow, we can consciously plant seeds of positivity. But how do we do that effectively?
Well, Hill recommends writing down your goals and aspirations, and then reading them out loud twice a day, ideally once when you wake up and once before you go to bed. By consistently exposing your mind to positive input, you start to rewire your subconscious beliefs. You're basically creating new neural pathways and replacing those negative limiting thoughts with positive and empowering ones.
So it's like mental rehearsal for success. You're visualizing your goals, and you're training your subconscious to believe it's possible.
Exactly. Hill also believed that this practice, combined with a genuine belief in your ability to achieve those goals, could unleash a lot of power. He even came up with this powerful affirmation: whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve.
It's about feeding your mind with empowering thoughts, planting those seeds in the garden. But what about when we face setbacks? Does PMA make us immune to challenges?
Well, Hill acknowledged that challenges are just a part of life. PMA doesn't make us immune to hardship, but it does give us the resilience and resourcefulness to navigate those challenges more effectively.
So it's not about pretending that bad things don't happen. It's about having the mental strength to get through them. Did Hill have any advice for how to deal with tough times when negativity creeps in?
One of his biggest teachings was about finding the seed of an equivalent benefit. In every adversity, he believed that every challenge, no matter how difficult, presented an opportunity for growth and learning.
So even in the midst of something really awful, there's a potential positive takeaway.
Yeah, basically. It's about shifting your perspective and looking for the opportunity within the challenge.
That makes sense. Instead of feeling like a victim, you're actively looking for a lesson, for something you can learn from the experience.
That's the essence of PMA. It's not about denying the pain or pretending everything's okay. It's about choosing to focus on the potential for transformation.
It's like turning lemons into lemonade. But sometimes it feels like life throws a whole truckload of lemons at you. How do you find that seed of benefit when you're just overwhelmed with negativity?
Well, it's not always easy, and Hill knew that. But he emphasized that the process of finding that seed of benefit, while challenging, is ultimately really rewarding. It's about consciously choosing to shift your focus and look for the silver lining. It's a practice. And like any skill, it gets easier over time.
So it's like training your mind to automatically look for that opportunity, that lesson within the challenge.
Exactly. It's a conscious choice to focus on growth and transformation, even when you're facing adversity.
That's powerful.
It's about recognizing that even in the midst of pain and struggle, we can choose to learn and grow from the experience.
And become stronger because of it.
Right.
That's a really great message.
Hill believed that everyone has the potential for greatness.
Yeah.
And that a positive mental attitude is the key to unlocking that potential.
Okay, so we've talked about PMA as this driving force. We've seen how it plays out in real life.
Yeah.
And we've explored some techniques to actually cultivate it, especially during tough times. But how does PMA actually influence our everyday choices? How does it help us build the lives we want?
That's where Hill's concept of definiteness of purpose comes in. He believed that having a clear and well-defined goal is super important for making good decisions. Without it, our choices become reactive instead of proactive, and our efforts lack direction.
So it's like having a compass to guide our choices towards our destination.
Exactly. Without it, we're like a ship without a rudder, just drifting aimlessly.
Right.
And that's where PMA comes in. It helps us stay focused on our goals
Yeah.
and make choices that move us closer to what we really want.
It's about aligning our actions with our aspirations.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So it's not just about feeling good. It's about using that positive mindset to fuel our actions.
Yeah.
To actually build the life we want. But how does all of this connect back to Hill's famous formula? Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve.
Well, that formula is really at the heart of Hill's philosophy. He believed that our beliefs shape our reality. So by truly believing in our goals and our ability to achieve them, we unleash the power of our subconscious minds.
So it's not just about setting goals. It's about really believing in them.
Right. That's amazing. Hill didn't stop at PMA and definiteness of purpose, though. He actually outlined 17 principles for success.
Wow, 17.
Yeah.
What are some of the others?
Well, besides PMA and definiteness of purpose, he talked about going the extra mile, accurate thinking, self-discipline, having a mastermind group, applied faith, a pleasing personality, personal initiative, enthusiasm, controlled attention, teamwork, learning from defeat, creative vision, budgeting time and money, maintaining good physical and mental health, and using what he called cosmic habit force, kind of like a universal law.
Wow, that's a lot. Do we need to master all 17 at once?
Well, not at all. Hill believed that while PMA is the most important catalyst, the specific combination of principles that we need for success will vary from person to person. He encouraged people to analyze their strengths and weaknesses and focus on the principles that resonated most with them.
So it's like creating your own personalized success toolkit.
Exactly.
That's a great way to think about it.
And this process of self-discovery and growth is ongoing. Hill believed in constantly evaluating our progress and identifying areas for improvement.
It's about always striving to become the best version of ourselves.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about Hill's concept of PMA. We've explored some of his 17 principles, and we even touched on his famous formula for achievement. But I still have one question. We've talked about PMA in theory, but how do we actually put it into practice? How do we make that shift from understanding the concept to actually living it?
That's a great question, and it's one we'll definitely explore as we continue our deep dive into Hill's work.
Sounds good to me. So we've laid the groundwork,
Yeah.
Understanding that PMA is this driving force, not just some fleeting feeling. We've seen it play out in real life. We've talked about how to cultivate it, especially during those tough times. But how do we practically develop this PMA? Like, where do we even begin?
Yeah, Hill emphasized that it's a journey, not a quick fix. He didn't really give like a one-size-fits-all solution, more like a toolbox of principles and techniques that you can adapt to your own goals and situations.
So it's about finding what works for you and then building from there. But with so many principles, it can be kind of overwhelming. What would you say is a good starting point?
Well, one of the most powerful techniques that Hill talked about was conscious autosuggestion. It's basically using positive self-talk and affirmations to reprogram your subconscious mind.
Yeah.
Think of it like this. Your mind is a garden, right? And every thought you have is a seed. So conscious autosuggestion is about intentionally planting positive seeds to cultivate a mindset of growth and success.
I love that analogy. So instead of letting weeds of negativity grow, we can consciously plant seeds of positivity. But how do we actually do that? What does that look like in practice?
Hill recommended writing down your goals and aspirations, and then reading them out loud twice a day, ideally once in the morning and once before you go to bed. By constantly exposing your mind to that positive input, you gradually start to rewire those subconscious beliefs. You're literally creating new neural pathways in your brain. You're replacing those negative, limiting thought patterns with positive and empowering.
So it's like a mental rehearsal for success. You're visualizing your goals, feeling those emotions, and training your subconscious to believe it's possible.
Yeah, exactly. And Hill believed that this practice, combined with a genuine belief in your ability to achieve those goals, could unleash a lot of power. He even created this powerful affirmation to embody that belief. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. Repeating that, truly internalizing it, can be a really powerful starting point.
It's about feeding your mind with empowering thoughts, like planting those seeds in the garden. But what about when we hit those inevitable setbacks? Does PMA somehow make us immune to life's curveballs?
Well, Hill recognized that challenges are a part of life. PMA doesn't make us immune to them, but it does equip us with resilience and resourcefulness so we can handle them better. It's about facing those difficulties head on, not pretending they don't exist.
Right, so it's not about ignoring the tough stuff. It's about having the mental tools to weather the storm. Did Hill offer any specific advice for dealing with those times when negativity starts to creep in?
One of his key teachings was about finding the seed of an equivalent benefit. In every adversity, he believed that every challenge, no matter how difficult, presented an opportunity for growth, for learning, and ultimately for something even better.
So even in the midst of something terrible, there's always a potential positive takeaway.
Exactly.
That sounds almost counterintuitive, like finding the good in something bad. But I can see how shifting your perspective to look for that opportunity could be really empowering. Instead of feeling like a victim, you're actively searching for the lesson, the potential for growth within that experience.
That's the core of PMA. It's not about denying the pain or pretending everything's fine. It's about choosing to focus on the potential for transformation that exists even within those difficult experiences.
So it's like turning those lemons into lemonade. But sometimes it feels like life just throws a whole truckload of lemons at you. How do you find that seed of benefit when you're completely overwhelmed by negativity?
It's not always easy. Hill knew that. But he emphasized that this process of finding the seed of benefit, while challenging, was incredibly rewarding. It's about consciously choosing to shift your focus and look for that silver lining. It's a practice. Like any skill, it gets easier with time and effort.
So it's like training your mind to automatically search for that opportunity, that lesson within the challenge.
Yeah, you got it. It's about recognizing that even amidst pain and struggle, we can choose to learn. We can choose to grow. And become stronger.
Because of that experience.
Exactly.
That's powerful.
And that's exactly what Hill wanted to convey. He believed that everyone had that inherent potential for greatness, and that a positive mental attitude was the key to unlocking it.
Well, this is all starting to come together. We've talked about PMA as this driving force. We've seen it in action. We've explored techniques to cultivate it, especially during tough times. But how does PMA actually influence our everyday choices and decisions? Like, how does it help us build the lives we really want?
That's where Hill's idea of definiteness of purpose comes in. He believed that having a clear, well-defined goal was crucial for making effective decisions. Without it, our choices become more reactive than proactive. and our efforts lack direction.
So it's like having a compass,
Mm.
guiding our choices towards our destination.
Precisely. Without that compass, we're like a ship without a rudder, just drifting aimlessly.
Right.
And that's where PMA is so important. It helps us stay focused on those goals. We can evaluate our options through the lens of our desired outcome and make choices that actually move us closer to what we truly want.
So it's about aligning our actions with our aspirations.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Listen.
It's not just about feeling good. It's about using that positive mindset to fuel our actions,
Oh, yeah.
to build the life we want. But how does all of this connect to Hill's famous formula? Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve.
Well, that formula is really at the core of Hill's philosophy. He believed that what we believe shapes our reality. So by truly believing in our goals and in our ability to achieve them, we can unleash the power of our subconscious minds to make those things happen.
It's not just about setting goals then. It's about wholeheartedly believing in them.
You got it.
That's powerful.
Hill didn't stop there. He actually outlined 17 principles for success in total.
Wow, 17.
Yep.
What are some of the others?
Well, besides PMA and definiteness of purpose, he talked about going the extra mile, accurate thinking, self-discipline, having a mastermind group, applied faith, a pleasing personality, personal initiative, enthusiasm, controlled attention, teamwork, learning from defeat, creative vision, budgeting time and money, maintaining good physical and mental health, and using what he called cosmic habit force, kind of like a universal law.
Wow, we covered all the bases. But with so many principles, it can feel a little overwhelming. Do we need to master all 17 at once?
Not at all. Hill believed that while PMA is the essential catalyst, the specific combination of principles we need to succeed will be different for everyone. He encouraged people to analyze their strengths and weaknesses and to really focus on the principles that resonate most with them. Start with the ones that feel most important to you.
So it's like building your own success toolkit.
Exactly.
Using the tools that best suit your needs and goals.
Right.
It's a great way to put it.
And this process of self-discovery and growth, it never really ends. Hill believed in constantly evaluating our progress, identifying areas where we can improve, and striving to become the best versions of ourselves.
It's about continuous learning and growth, always reaching for our full potential.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've delved into Hill's concept of PMA. We've explored some of his 17 principles. And we even touched on his famous formula for achievement. But there's still one big question in my mind. We've talked about PMA in theory, but how do we actually put it into practice? How do we make that shift from understanding the concept to actually living it?
That's a great question. And it's one we'll address as we continue our deep dive into Hill's work.
So we've talked about how PMA is this powerful engine for success, and we've explored some of Hill's key principles. But, it's all theoretical until we actually put it into action. How do we actually make PMA part of our everyday lives?
That's the big question, isn't it? Hill believed that developing PMA is a continuous journey. It's about self-discovery and growth. He didn't offer a one-size-fits-all solution, more like a set of tools and techniques that you can personalize.
Like we're building our own custom PMA toolkit. But where do we even start? There's so much to Hill's work, it's kind of overwhelming.
You're right, it can be a lot. The key is to start small. Focus on one principle or technique at a time, and then gradually build from there. Don't try to change everything at once. Just incorporate one small change at a time, like a new habit or a positive affirmation.
Small, incremental changes that build on each other.
Exactly.
Okay, so what would be a good starting point? We talked about conscious autosuggestion earlier. Can you remind us how that works?
Sure. Conscious autosuggestion is basically the practice of positive self-talk, using affirmations and positive statements to reprogram your mind. Remember that garden analogy?
Yeah.
Every thought we have is like a seed. So conscious autosuggestion is about choosing to plant positive seeds, to cultivate a mindset that supports your growth.
Right. It's about weeding out the negativity.
Yeah.
And planting seeds of positivity. But what does that actually look like day to day?
Well, Hill recommended writing down your goals and aspirations, and then reading them out loud twice a day, once when you wake up and once before you go to sleep. That way you're constantly exposing your mind to these positive statements, and you start to rewire those subconscious beliefs.
So it's about repetition and consistency.
Exactly.
By repeating those affirmations, we're creating new neural pathways and replacing the negative thought patterns with more positive ones.
Right. And Hill believed that this practice, combined with genuinely believing in yourself, could unleash a ton of power. One of his most famous affirmations was, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve." repeating that phrase, and really letting it sink in can be really transformative.
It's like feeding your mind with empowering thoughts, those seeds of possibility and potential. It's like a mental rehearsal for success. You're visualizing your goals and training your subconscious to believe in them.
Precisely. It's about using the power of your mind to shape your reality. But remember, PMA is not some magic bullet. It's about showing up for yourself every day, cultivating a positive inner dialogue, and believing in your ability to create the life you want.
It's about taking ownership of your mindset
Yeah,
and actively shaping your thoughts and beliefs.
exactly.
So it's not about passively hoping for the best. It's about creating the conditions for success.
You got it. Hill really believed that we are not just victims of circumstance. We are active creators of our own realities. PMA is about harnessing that power, believing in yourself, and taking consistent action towards your goals.
I'm feeling really inspired by this conversation. This deep dive into PMA has given me a lot to think about. It's like a whole new way of looking at life.
Me too. It's incredible how relevant Hill's ideas still are. Even though he wrote about them so long ago, his work is a timeless guide for personal growth.
It reminds us that we all have this incredible potential and the power to change our lives. And it all starts with cultivating a positive mental attitude.
Absolutely. The power to change your life starts with the power of your own mind.
That's a great takeaway. And on that note, we'll leave you with one final thought. Knowing what you know now about PMA, what's one thing you're going to do differently tomorrow? Think about that. And until next time, keep those mental attitudes positive.